Okay, so hi Lauren.
Hi.
So this is my coaching sessions for a class. Um, to be a Clifton Strengths coach, you have to go through this class, and there's like multiple steps along the way where you coach somebody. Um, so in a normal like coaching environment, obviously I would not like tell you about my assignment or like tell you about that part of it. But what coaching kind of looks like, the first, it's usually part of a two-part step. Like I would coach you once, and then there'd be a second time later on in the semester if you were a college of business student, which is like who I will be coaching. But since this is just like a one, we'll kind of do like the relationship building aspect of it, but also the coaching too. It's usually about 30 minutes long, give or take, kind of just depending on how the conversation goes. But yeah, I'm just coaching on your top five. The goal, I am your coach. They like us to emphasize like it's not my job to like advise you, like that's for our advisors, like or counsel, like be a friend, like I want to be there for you, but I also just want to help grow and develop you as a person, like through your top five. So if you want to tell me about your top five, do you know what your top five is? I'm ready to
Yes.
hear them.
My number one is Woo.
Okay.
My number two is Developer.
Woo, developer.
And then Discipline.
Woo, developer, discipline. Oh my gosh, that's my strengths crush. Discipline is my strengths crush.
And then Communication and Positivity.
I can find it. Yeah, do you have a pen? Perfect. Okay. You said, I want to make sure I get these right. Woo, developer, discipline,
Communication.
and then what's the last one? Positivity.
Yeah.
Awesome. Communication and positivity. Okay, perfect. So we will discuss those a little bit later, but first I do want to just get to know you a little bit. What brought you to UNL? What made you pick UNL over all the other colleges? Kind of give me the why, I guess, behind that.
I'm really interested in becoming a PA, and UNMC has a really good PA program. I looked at a lot of like other different schools, but I toured here, and I wasn't expecting to like it just because I'm from Nebraska. I kind of had that mindset, like I don't want to go somewhere close to home.
And you went to Marion,
Yeah.
right? Omaha. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So I just ended up touring here because my mom told me I should, just to make sure I didn't like it, and I ended up loving it. So
it ended up working out pretty well. How would you say your transition to UNL has been? So far? I mean, end of your freshman year.
Yeah.
So how would you? I mean, looking back on the whole year, how would you say the transition's been?
Very good. Yeah. Especially being close to home, but not like too close to home. I can still see my parents whenever I want to, but I don't see them all the time. And I went to a college prep high school, which kind of helped like in the school aspect. So I was kind of prepared for a lot of homework and
homework.
studying.
Yeah, I know that a lot of times I feel like the time management aspect of the homework can be the biggest like surprise, I guess, of freshman year.
So I was already kind of used to that from high school. So that was nice.
Nice. What would you say are 3 words someone you know well would use to describe you?
Ooh.
I know it's a hard one.
Difficult.
And it can be like, I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be like very like intense. You know, like it could be like something your mom would use to describe you, or like something that they always reminded you of, like growing up, or.
A lot of people call me mom,
Okay.
just because I kind of have not like caregiving kind of aspect. I work as a CNA.
Okay.
So I'm very into like helping other people.
So are you a CNA now, or okay?
Yeah.
And then you say you're pre-PA, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So will you be a CNA all of college then, or
Yeah.
will you gradually switch, or how does that?
I've had my CNA since my junior year of high school.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I've been working
for a while now. Yeah.
It's really good to have like patient contact experience before like applying to grad schools.
And
in the healthcare field,
with like healthcare and going pre-PA, I always think that's interesting. When you saw your top 5, were you surprised by it? Did you see like common themes in that were like relating to healthcare, or like tell me about that?
I wasn't very surprised, especially for Woo, because I feel like when you're especially like working at a nursing home and in hospice and stuff, you kind of have to have. You can get very down if you don't have like a positive attitude and like be able to like help someone get better, especially like working with like dying patients and stuff, which is really hard. You kind of have to like separate yourself from work when you get home and like stay positive, and it's kind of hard to do if you don't have that.
With your positivity, how would you describe your positivity in those, like you said you work with like hospice patients, like in those environments? Like I feel like most students have a very unique way of going about their positivity. Like how would you describe how you are in those environments?
I kind of like have the aspect, I kind of had to, I journaled a lot about it before, like, I decided to take the job, just, like, knowing, because I've had, like, multiple grandparents go through hospice, and so I was always on, like, the other side, and just, like, I kind of had to, like, make the mindset, like, somebody has to be in that position, like, at the end of their life, and, like, I think it's a really cool thing to, like, you could possibly be, like, the last person that someone sees, like, before they go, and just kind of, like, being in that position to, like, take care of them, and they, like, rely on you for everything.
That's, I mean, amazing, yeah, and it's such a good, I think, reminder, I guess, and of, like, your why, you know, like, that fuel behind, like, what you're doing, knowing, like, taking ownership in that, I guess. So you kind of talked a little bit how, you said you weren't surprised by woo, and then you kind of talked a little bit about your positivity. So would you say that, generally speaking, your positivity and woo kind of interweave together, or how would you?
Definitely.
Yeah, like, tell me more a little bit about that. Maybe in, like, a social setting, or like when you walk up to a group, I guess.
I'm a very, like, outgoing person, and I feel like I'm always kind of like the cheery one in the situation, or at least I try to be. And I feel like that kind of goes with, like, positivity, because if you're a positive person, then usually you have, like, woo in a situation, because you're always trying to be, like, uplifting.
I was gonna ask you, there was one specific question I wanted. Where are you tend to most likely meet new people? Like, do you kind of go out of your way to meet new people? Like with woo, how you say you kind of like you get excited from that.
Yeah. I definitely like try to always put myself in positions where I like have to force myself to like meet new people and like get out of my comfort zone. I know like someone like once told me like you always should do something like once a day that like puts you out of your comfort zone to like try something new. So I always try to do that.
And it didn't work. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because you said like with your woo, how you said you like that pushing yourself out of your comfort zone too. Because I think sometimes with woo it could be, you know, like you're wanting to winning people over and fuel that energy, but also like the pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is obviously not always easy. When you have like pushed yourself out of your comfort zone in a group of people, like do you ever have like pushback or like maybe awkward moments or moments where you walk away and you're kind of like, oh, like I don't know.
Some people are like very introverted, and sometimes it can be like off-putting because you kind of feel like maybe they don't want to be your friend or like want to hang out with you. But I know just like realizing that like not everyone is the same, and like not everyone will be like receptive to me being like, hey, like how's it going?
I know. Like, and there's that positivity too. You're like, oh, like it's fine. Like, maybe they just were having a bad day. Like, no, I totally get that. I do want you to talk a little bit about. Sorry, this is like all over. Let's go this way. Here we go. Developer. So. That's one, like, looking back on high school, was there ever, like, a role you had where you really felt like that kind of shined through, or, I don't know, tell me about developer, or, like, what it is for you.
So, developers, like, people, like, seeing potential in people, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be people, I mean, it is what it is for you, you know, like, it can be people-oriented, it can be, intrinsically, you know, it is what you make it, I guess.
In high school, I was a part of, like, a prayer group. And, like, especially as I got older, like, the younger girls are kind of, like, scared to, like, come in because they're not really sure, like, what goes on, like, when you're there and that kind of thing. But, like, just opening up, like, with your own personal experiences, like, to help them see, like, it's okay to, like, share and, like, everyone goes through things like that kind of thing. So I feel like just seeing, like, girls that I wouldn't expect, like, want to come and, like, inviting them and they actually, like, show up and then, like, getting to hear more about them, like, you wouldn't normally, like, see that side of them. People don't talk about it unless they're in like a intimate environment.
Yeah. Would you is that kind of like a little success for you, or like tell me about one of these like little successes? I guess was there like a certain person that maybe said something to you and you were like, oh, like that, like was there a certain way you went about one thing that really worked for somebody? Or
so I was a senior retreat leader.
Okay.
As a senior, and so I like invited all them to like come to the prayer group, and it was like Wednesday nights. And I wasn't expecting, like, any of them to actually come. And, like, two of them came together and, like, oh, like, you're the reason we're here. Like, you really opened up, like, during retreat. We did a lot of, like, activities like that. And so they said, like, they saw, like, how I was able to, like, share, like, what I was going through and
like
stuff.
Vulnerability
and
and stuff,
So I definitely, like, was trying to do that. And it's not always easy to, like, open up about, like, the hard things in your life. But just seeing, like, how it helped other people kind of, like, motivated me to keep doing it.
Going on, like, kind of back with that, who do you see potential in now, and how might that be beneficial? Like, other people around you now that you kind of see potential in are kind of maybe internally kind of like, okay, how could I, you know, get them with progress-wise?
Yeah, definitely, like, my roommate, just getting to like know her more and like seeing the beginning of the year, she's from like out of state, so she didn't know a lot of people, and just seeing her like be able to like grow new friendships and like getting involved in like volunteering and stuff, which is really cool. And I just kind of like, she's not in a sorority, I'm in a sorority, so like inviting her to my things and like trying to meet, like include her in like my friend group and stuff. It's really cool to like see her open up and like be open to like hang
kind
out
of
with
find
people
her
she
own
doesn't
too.
know.
I mean, it is with the social element too, like how you're saying find one thing every day that pushes yourself out of your comfort zone. Like you're probably providing that for her too, you know.
Definitely, especially like if she's not in the same groups. I know it could be hard to like put yourself out there like when everyone else knows each other, but so that's cool.
I think it's cool too that you recognize that you're an outgoing person, you know, an extroverted person, but you do recognize when somebody is more introverted, so it's like you're still inviting her along. So I don't know, I think it's cool how you're seeing that potential there as well. With discipline, were you surprised by that one, or were you like, holy cow, like it's like the annoying thing in my head all the time, like get it done.
Yeah, I was not surprised just because I've always been like list oriented and like trying to get everything done, and especially being like motivated to like get into grad school. Like I've always had that in the back of my mind since like my freshman year of high school. Like I've always known what I wanted to do, and I've always been like working towards that. And everyone was always like, "Oh my gosh, like you're always so busy. You always are doing this." Like, but I've always like had the goal, so I've always been working towards it.
So would you say it's more like small things each day leading towards that one big goal?
Yeah, and just like again like pushing myself, like getting my CNA early, and like kind of getting that done, and then being able to like use it before like other people. Usually they get it in like college, but just like getting ahead and like focusing so that you can really like
Are you like now? I mean, I guess we're towards the end of freshman year now, so maybe it's flipping a little bit because we're getting towards the end of the week. But would you say you're very schedule oriented? Like, do you have a schedule for your week, or like, tell
I'm
me
a really
about that.
big planner girl.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like to have everything like written out and lists of what I like need to get done every day, just so I can have everything at a glance. And I don't like to be late to things, and I don't like to forget things and that kind of thing. So I'm very like write everything down. Yeah.
Are you do you like checking it off, or do you like kind of just? Does it bother you almost intrinsically if something doesn't go as planned, or?
I've tried to get away from that. I used to be like, I get upset like if something didn't like go exactly according to plan. But I've just kind of, especially like coming to college, like things just don't go as planned a lot of times. That's one of the things that I've been working on, trying to let go.
Do you feel like that's a huge part of the transition too? How was that like first semester to now? Would you say that that's kind of developed and gotten better now?
Yeah.
Or maybe at the first semester it was a little bit like, oh my gosh, like there's no schedule, there's no like organized, this chaos.
Yeah, definitely. Like first semester I'd call my mom a lot and be like, oh, like this didn't happen, like oh no, what am I supposed to do? And I've noticed that like I've slowly like started to do it more independently, like work through it myself, which is good.
With your current schedule now, I do want to ask, how do you think like we could better organize your time? Like, is there any ways like through your schedule now, or like things that aren't really working as well as you'd like them, or?
I would say getting like more study time like before like work, because I work on weekends, so a lot of times I'll like push things towards the weekend and like, oh, I'll do it later, that kind of thing. And then I get to the weekend, I'm like, oh, I have to go to work. Like,
and like, oh my gosh, this is getting really crazy.
So I think just like getting everything done.
When do you say you study best? I guess like what's your prime, like if you had the perfect setting for studying, like where would you be, what time of day?
I would say probably at the library, like late afternoon, and then be done by like 9 or 10 because I go to bed early.
Do you you have a written schedule, or is it on a planner?
A planner.
You have a planner?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever considered like having like a legitimate like schedule where it's like the by the hour, which you don't want to, I mean, not that I want you to get too like into the hour, but you know, like you said, early to mid afternoon at the library, like blocking out that time and saying studying, because I feel like with your discipline, you would almost have that inner like, I need to get like I need to go study, you know, like I need to go do this idea now. I feel like that maybe could be something. Are you said you go to bed early, are you a morning person then, or a night person? Would you say both? Maybe college makes you both.
Yeah, I would say probably more of a morning person than a night person, just because I like to go to bed early, just so I can, I don't know, because once it hits like 10 o'clock, I don't get things done. And I'm just too tired to like pay attention.
Can't study very well. Yeah. I feel that. What routines, like habits, would you say you might need to implement? Like, is there anything like routine wise that might be needing to be different, or it's maybe not working, or maybe it was working for a period of time and now it's not?
Mm-hmm. I would say definitely getting my laundry done. I know that's like a small thing, but it's always in the back of my head. Like I need to get it done, and then I just end up not having.
Are you are you in the suites
Able.
Or you're in Able?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there a certain like day would you say Able where it's always full, and so it's
Saturdays
like just
and
don't
Sundays.
Saturdays and Sundays are always,
which is usually when I think about
doing it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. What do your maybe like Mondays look like? I would say because I feel like generally speaking, most college students do it on the weekends.
Yeah.
Like, is there an earlier day in the week that would work for you? Maybe you could add it into your routine. Or...
I need to start doing it Tuesdays because I normally have like 4 classes a day, and usually one of them is like a lab, just because I'm in health classes. But Tuesday I only have 1 class for like 2 hours, so I would say like getting back and actually like getting it done and studying more like at Able and like the study rooms versus like going to the library, because then I won't forget about it.
Well, you could even I have a friend that freshman year she would put her laundry in and do her laundry in the laundry room, which sounds probably very bizarre because like who does that? But also like if you did it on a Monday, there'd be nobody in there.
Yeah.
It smells kind of good if you're being honest. And you would be able to cycle them out really quick. And are you like when you study? Do you like noise? Do you like music?
It kind of depends what I'm doing.
Okay.
I like noise when I'm doing like homework, but if I'm studying, then I like it pretty quiet, just so I don't like get distracted. And I don't really like to listen to music when I do homework.
When you do homework?
Yeah, I listen to like instrumental or like the
symphony
study playlist.
Stuff. Yeah, I feel that. I do that too. I was gonna say I'm trying to think because you could even like assign yourself. I know you have that interdiscipline. Like assign yourself like 2 assignments to get done while you're doing laundry, and it's almost like a challenge of like.
Yeah.
Can I get this done? You know, and in that laundry room while there's like nobody else around, nobody distracting you. I feel like that might be like a routine, I guess, or habit. Okay, this is like a random one, but it's always interesting. How have you organized your computer? Is it really organized or?
Yeah, I try to be at least. I use like the little colored dots like in folders. How you can you can put colors like for all of your. So, like, all of my biolab stuff is, like, purple. It has purple dots. And then I make the folder, like, a purple dot. So then everything goes.
Oh, my gosh. Goes with that. Yeah. Wow. You need to come organize my laptop. Oh, my gosh. Have you been doing that since college? Since high school? Okay. So, since, like, that's, like, a habit already. Oh, my gosh.
And I keep folders, like, on my desktop. Because then I save everything on my desktop. And then I, like, drag it.
And drag it in. Okay. Kind of a little bit on the same thing. Do you tend to have like a very like you like your spaces to be neat, like your room, your car?
Yeah, especially when I'm studying, I cannot study if my room is not clean. I guess I just always think about it, especially if I'm studying in the room and then everything's like around me is like cluttered. I can't do it. I have to clean it. It has to be clean.
Yeah. Would you say that maybe gets in the way of getting homework done sometimes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I really need to clean. But I don't.
Yeah, I feel that. And you said there are study rooms on your floor. Okay, I was saying that's like an easy, if you wanted to. I know in Able, do you ever do the ones on the main floor?
Yeah, I like those better.
I know a lot. I was in Sandoz, so I wasn't able, but I do remember that.
Yeah, especially like the ones on the floor. They have like glass windows on both sides, so people like walk by and like knock and like say hi, which is fun. But then you get distracted and everyone comes in. Yeah,
I know. And then they're like, "Oh no, I get you're studying," but like, and then
they sit down and talk, and you're like.
I feel that. But you have woo and positivity. So you're like, all right, I'll
come on in.
Put everything aside. To go off of your communication, how would you say your like communication works for you? Like how would you? I mean, like, this sounds kind of maybe bizarre, but like, how would you describe your like style of speaking? Like, do you like public speaking? Do you like more one-on-one?
I like public speaking when I'm not graded.
Okay.
When I get graded, then I get nervous, but I have no problem like standing in front of people and talking, like at all.
Like off the fly, like impromptu.
In high school, I was the president of a club, and so I was always used to like getting up and talking, like giving presentations and stuff, because it didn't bother me if I wasn't graded. So
do you like when you are being graded, what do you think you get nervous about? Like, do you think you get nervous about it sounding like coming off perfectly?
Yeah.
Or
I think I'm just afraid of like making small mistakes and then like backtracking myself and just because I like to be.
Yeah, I feel that. Tell me about a time when a speech went like really well.
My junior year of high school, we had to do like a history project and then give like a presentation about it. And I practiced a lot, and it just kind of came more natural, like the more that I practiced. Mm-hmm. So it ended up going really well, even though I was very, very nervous. Yeah.
Kind of going off the nerves, what is something you do to kind of counter off nerves? Like, is there any like practices, I guess, that you kind of like implement that are like, okay, if I do this, I won't be as nervous? Is there anything like that?
Giving the presentation to like other people, and just kind of like focusing on breathing and not talking super fast, because that's one thing that I do. If I get nervous, I talk really fast. Yeah,
I feel that. Yeah, like it's all. And then do you walk away and you are like, oh my gosh, I talked way too fast?
Or, yeah, you like look at the time that you were supposed to finish. Like,
shoot. Yeah,
way too fast. Yeah.
So tell me about a time you said that you would practice it to friends and family, and you said that you did think that helped.
Yeah.
Do you pre-write those speeches, or do you have like bullet points? Or
I try to do the bullet points thing, especially like in high school. A lot of times we weren't allowed to have like any notes at all, so I'd practice with bullet points and then try and like remember like the short like snippets of things that I was supposed to say and just kind of like work off of it. Okay. But I also like try not to plan too much, because then I would feel like I would have to go exactly according to what I said, and then versus just like speaking through knowledge and what I know. Yeah.
Going back on this, okay, so do you get, this is kind of funny, but do you get fixated on new words that you've learned? Like, do you ever hear a new word and you're like, oh my gosh?
Yeah.
Would you say you relate to that, or maybe not?
Yeah, I would say definitely, especially if I don't know the word, then I have to figure out what it means. Like, I try and use it.
And use it something,
yeah.
like some big random word, like plop it into a sentence. Do you have a favorite word?
No, I don't think so.
You don't have a favorite word? I think that's such a random question, but I don't think I have one. But I've asked, like, even like not in coaching sessions, I've asked, and they're like, have one, and I'm like, I need to think about what favorite.
Yeah.
So yeah, your like takeaway from this is you got to think of a favorite word.
Yeah, man.
No. This is kind of an interesting one. Do some words just feel good saying? Mm-hmm. Do you have a couple words that you're just like, that just
like sunshine?
Sunshine?
Yeah.
That is so a positivity and motivation.
I love the word sunshine. Yeah.
Maybe that's your favorite word.
Yeah, maybe.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
That's a really great favorite word. Let's do, so okay, when you are like conversing with somebody, do you edit yourself like as you're saying things, or is it more of like you like will just talk about something and then later on kind of go back and are like, okay, this is where I needed to like.
Yeah, I go back. I just kind of say whatever I'm thinking. I don't really have a filter, really. I just kind of, I'm very, like, honest.
Which is good. Yeah, no, that's a good thing. Yeah, I'm glad you're honest.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes I go back. I'm like, maybe I should have said that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you sit on drafts of emails? Like, do you...
Yeah, I'll, like, save them. And, like, do, like, the minus so they go to, like, the bottom of your screen. And then I go back and, like, read them before I send
and re-edit a bunch.
Yeah.
Do you do that with text, would you say?
I feel like text, I'm more relaxed and just kind of go for
it.
Yeah.
And I feel like generally speaking, your emails are most likely going to like professors.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know, so it's like, maybe I should.
Yeah.
I feel that. Let's do. I wanted to go back. Sorry, it's kind of all over the place. Okay, so going back to your positivity. Would you say, like, in a best case scenario day, that do you, like, acknowledge when something is going well, like, in your head, or do you kind of just, like, it's kind of like the sunshine most of the time, or how, I don't know, how do you...
That's a hard question.
Sorry.
No, I feel like a lot of times I don't realize it until after that it was something, I don't know. I, like, reflect a lot. I like to journal, especially at the end of the day, so just kind of, like, thinking about like what went well.
Do you you know, I don't mean like specific details, but like what do you like to like? What's your like journaling style? Like, do you do like? Do you just talk about the day? Do you do like 5 good things that happened that day? Like 5 things you're thankful for? Or, like...
I just kind of like talk about my day, and then usually I'll like say things that went well, or like things I could have done better, or things I'm worried about. It's just kind of like how I get out everything. Especially if I try to be positive, I'm not always feeling very positive. So that's kind of how I like get it
Yeah.
out.
Do you ever do the thing where you like if it's the end of the day you're having a bad day, you go back and read an entry from a good day? Like have you ever done that?
Yeah, I've read. Yeah, especially like if I remember specific days, like something went like really well, or I was excited for something to happen, then I'll go back and read it.
Go back and read it.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to more. I know like way at the beginning of our coaching session, you talked more about like how people oriented you feel like your positivity is. Like which type of people like excites you? Like what kinds of people do you like when you're around? You're like, okay, I like get so much energy from this group of people.
I would say like other very honest people, because I don't know. I feel like I'm very good at telling when people are like putting up a front and not really like being very genuine. I feel like I've always kind of been able to like see through that. So just when people are just themselves, like completely, just themselves, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like. Which it's funny because that might sound random, but like in college, you know, like that's like who you're gonna be gravitating to, you know, is the people that are like that like they're being them true selves.
Like they're not trying to like act a certain way in front of you or like try to be a specific person. Yeah.
Definitely. What is the best thing that you would say about like your UNL experience, like with like people oriented, like what maybe is the best like group of people you've clicked with, like with your CNA job, like maybe it's that group of people, or like what group of people excites you the most, I guess?
I would say people that like live on my floor, because a lot of them like aren't in sororities or anything. Just like meeting different kinds of people, and then people in my sorority. And it's actually kind of funny. So I Uber to work because my brother took my car to college.
Oh my gosh!
So
amazing.
I always hear very interesting stories like from the Uber drivers, and a lot of times they like always talk about how they have like connections to where I work, or like they were there, or they know someone who was there, and like hear like stories about it, which is really cool.
Cool. No, yeah, and it's probably beautiful to hear like different stories. I don't know, like it's so cool how everybody has a story, you know.
Yeah.
How would you say you bring energy to a situation or group?
Definitely like the positivity thing, and being honest, because I feel like people a lot of times realize like when people are not being like themselves. So I was just kind of trying to be exactly like who I am and just not like. It's hard sometimes not to try and like alter yourself a little bit to like get people to like you or whatever. But
when like tell me a little bit more about that. Like I guess where does that like strength come from, or like where does that like because it's not easy. Like you said, it isn't easy to like be yourself. So like tell me a little bit more about that, I guess. Where that came from.
It came a lot from going to an all-girls high school, just because like when everyone's around boys, they're always like trying to be like cute and whatever, and you know, like they don't want to be too smart, but they don't want to be too dumb, like that kind of thing. But going to the all-girls high school, people just realize like who cares? Like we're all girls, it doesn't really matter. You wake up 5 minutes before you go to school and just like run out the door, like no one really like cares. And especially like my school was very big on like it's okay to be smart and like it's cool to be unique and like you're involved in different things. So that was, I think, really like what taught me like it's cool to be yourself. Like you don't have to try and be other people.
Would you say like so? You kind of talked about your high school's like culture of like that. Would you say that you could see yourself like only working in kind of that kind of culture? Like, do you feel like you thrive the most in the culture of like be yourself, like be your true, like you're not too much this, you're not too much that?
Definitely.
Is that how like? I guess you have a CNA job now, but like when you're going to like, I guess apply or with PA, are you wanting to have your own? Or are you going to go work for somebody? Or?
It kind of depends like what my specialty is.
Okay.
So I know some people like work in clinics with like other PAs and other doctors, and they kind of are in their own thing. And then some work in hospitals, and like some work at like CVS and like the Minute clinics and stuff like that. So it's very different. It just kind of depends what you want to do.
Where do you see yourself?
I feel like probably right out of school I want to work at a hospital just to like experience it, but eventually I'd probably want to have like a smaller clinic.
What like about like what if you let's say you went to 3 different hospitals, like which one would you be like? What kind of culture would you be looking for? Like, would you want that like replicating of like be your true self, like that work hard type thing, or like what would you say?
I've always like I work at a place that really like focuses on the whole patient and not just like wrong with them, you know, their disease or whatever they're dealing with, and focuses on like their mental health and everything, and like doing activities that they enjoy and like socializing with other people and that kind of thing. So I feel like that'd be really important to work somewhere that like focuses on the whole person and not just what you're trying to fix.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, positive psychology, definitely a big fan, so I feel that. Let's do. Okay, would you just so kind of going off of you've talked a couple times about like with patients and not focusing on like their like illness or what's wrong with them, like focusing on them as a whole person, and also how you said like you worked with people that were on hospice, like bringing that sunshine to them. Like, how do you go about like injecting that like that positive energy? Like, would you say you use like humor or like what is your like style? I guess in that situation.
Honestly, smiling goes a long way, especially with like the elderly, because they're not used to people. I mean, being a CNA is a great job, but it's a lot of work and it's difficult, and it's not always the most pleasant like situations you're put in. But just smiling and just like body language goes a long way, because a lot of them, especially like if they have Alzheimer's and stuff, they definitely like read a lot off of like body language and like what you're saying. So that's a big.
How this might sound like a dumb question, but this is coming from somebody that's like not pretty health or but like how do you pick up on that body, like how you said you're like with old people like the body language is important, like the small is important, like I get like that might seem obvious, but like how did you ever pick up that like the body language is important? Like did people ever give you feedback on that, or tell me about that?
I know like they talked a lot about it like in our CNA class. Okay. And you can just kind of tell, like, when you're working with someone and they're, like, uncomfortable in a situation. And if you just start, like, being positive and, like, kind of altering, like, the place I work focuses on, like, altering, like, care plans towards the patient and, like, how they respond. Because a lot of times, like, especially with people with Alzheimer's, they'll react, like, badly because of you or, like, how, like, the situation they're in. So you kind of have to, like, tweak how you're working with them or, like, what situations you're putting them in so that they, like, respond, like, positively.
Would you say that you've used those skills that you've gained from that in like not real life, but like in outside of that job?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Like tell me about that. Like tell me about a situation where you feel like you've used those skills like in that I guess this whole freshman year of college.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say that's difficult too.
I know.
I feel like if I'm not like meshing well with someone, just like I don't know, like taking it back and like what am I doing that like could maybe be putting them off, or I don't know, like maybe I wasn't smiling, or if I don't know, something like that.
When you mentioned like putting people off, when you're like starting to pick up, I mean I'm guessing basing on your top 5 and just you as a person, like I'm guessing you're pretty good at gauging when you're putting somebody off, like when you feel yourself starting to like that's starting to happen, like how do you react, like what is your response there?
Being less like woo, because maybe that's like what's putting them off, being too like because some people just like don't mesh with that, so just kind of being
matching the energy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big one, but that's not easy.
Yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes.
It can be hard. Oh, especially if you like start out that way and then they give you a negative, like I think sometimes with woo, do you ever feel like you are just having a great day and a good mood, like you want to just like give it to everybody and like it's not reciprocated, and then you like go from like such a high to like a low, like, is that how do you
it's
ever
hard
feel
not
that?
To
like let that one negative the one negative like encounter, I guess. Okay, so those are like the main questions I wanted to ask you, just to kind of get a lot of coaching is like naming it and claiming it. So like these 5 like strengths that you like have, it's like a tool. It's like a language to talk about like what you're good at, like what your like strong points are, and so it's like naming it. And then a lot of like the claiming it aspect of coaching is kind of like how you use woo, like how you use developer, like what that means to you, because that word doesn't encompass you, it's like what you how you use it. It just is like the one thing that's claiming it. So now like this last portion of the coaching session is called like aiming it. So like I just want to go down like your top like your 5 and kind of like aim it at a specific goal that you like want to accomplish in like whatever time is like comfortable with you, like either the next like till the end of summer or the rest of the school year, or till next December or like sophomore year, like that's crazy.
That's so soon.
Yeah, I know, like it's so soon, but just kind of like wherever like in your head that you're kind of at, but like with woo, like that could be with your job, it could be with your school, but can you think of like one goal maybe that you could have like that maybe would challenge that strength and grow it, I guess?
Yeah, I would say definitely focusing on it at work.
Okay.
Just because you're always around like unfortunate situations, and people are always down, especially like with coworkers. A lot of them aren't very positive because it's just not like sometimes a fun like situation to be in with a lot of the stuff that you have to deal with. So just kind of not, in that sense, not matching how they're vibing with the situation and just like trying to keep like my positivity and like saying I know that I have to be the positive one in the situation just so everyone doesn't get down.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Make sure you don't put too much pressure on yourself, but that is a good goal. Like, it's almost, I mean, it kind of goes to the claiming it. It's kind of like, oh, like I'm good at fueling energy and stuff. Like, I never would have, you know, like, you never probably would have, like, been like, oh, yeah, woo. Like, I'm good at wooing people, you know? But it's kind of amazing now that you, like, can claim it, like, going forward. It's kind of like, okay, I have this, like, I gotta share, you know, type thing. That's awesome. With developer, how would you say going about that one? Would that be, like, more school-related or, like, just the people in your inner circle more? Or
I think probably, like, my inner circle, just, like, focusing on getting to know the people like on a different level. I know like I've done this a lot with the girls on my floor just because we're all so different and just like really getting to know more about them and not just like surface conversations and stuff.
Going deeper and just like helping them see the potential. With communication, I feel like a good one maybe for you, would you say maybe doing things to offset that nervousness? Which might sound like but, like, for me, like, if I know I'm going to be, like, public speaking or doing an interview, like, I'll go on, like, a run. And then, like, or a workout and then, like, kind of drain some of that nervous energy. Because some nervous is good, you know? But, I feel like that might be, like, a goal. That's whatever that looks like for you, you know?
I've been trying to get into, like, working out more just to, like, get rid of that, like, negative energy and everything.
It's hard.
From work and school and just being stressed and everything, definitely.
I think viewing workout, too, like, working out as, like, a way to get stressed out is also maybe more positive way to do it. Because we all know it's hard sometimes to get ourselves there.
Definitely.
But, and then with positivity, how would you say? Would you just say, like, owning it, I guess? Maybe, in work?
Definitely. Yeah, just trying to stay positive, definitely. Like, I know it's one of my strengths for a reason, obviously, but just trying to keep, sometimes it's not always hard, or not always easy to, like, stay positive in every situation. I think that's always something that
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And just to kind of like wrap up, like I do genuinely like mean this, like regardless of this or like coaching, but like I do think it's so cool that you continuously like want to make sure you're being genuine to your unique self and like developing yourself. And so I think it's really cool to see like your combination of 5 because like I honestly wouldn't have guessed some of these and like, but I think it's so amazing how you kind of have both going on, you know, like I think it's cool that you have like that discipline behind the scenes, which it's not that I would ever think you're not, you know, but like I just think it's so amazing that like that's like a lot of what's fueling like how you are able to be so like like that in person. I don't know, the sunshine aspect. So yeah, I just think that's really cool. But yeah, and thank you for letting me coach you.
Yeah, of course.
And like seriously, thank you for like just having this be like kind of offhanded. But yeah,
of course, thank you for coaching me.
Yeah, thank you.